7th graders, we're going to go through these notes and the worksheet that I gave you. Our lesson today is on interest. Adam, stop. Not while I'm teaching. Okay. It's on bank accounts and interest and what happens when you put money into an account. You gain an amount called interest, and it's based on a percentage rate called the interest rate. Okay? And there's two ways that interest is figured out. There's two ways that it's calculated: simple interest and compound interest. Okay? Most of the time, you get compound interest in the real world, in life, when you deposit money into a savings account or another type of account. Most of the time you get what's called compound interest. But there is a formula for simple interest. It's a more simple formula, so maybe that's why it's called that. The formula is this. The principal, or the original amount, is multiplied by the rate, which is the interest rate, the percentage that you're getting, and then times the time that it's in the account. And the time is always in years. So if you're figuring it out for just a number of months, you have to convert that to years, like in number 6. Let's do number 5 first on your assignment. Here's an example of how simple interest is found. Okay? Ava. Principal is the original amount. It's the amount of money that you put into the account. So in number 5, let's say that you put in $900. Oh, okay. By number 5, and on the practice side, we're talking about practice side, number 5. Okay? So let's say you put in $900 into a savings account. And the bank says we'll give you 3% interest, so it's going to go up by 3% each year for 5 years. Okay, you get 3% of $900 for 5 years. So here's what you do. You put into your calculator 900 times the rate, but you have to write the rate as a decimal, which is 0.03. 0.03, right. So 900 times 0.03 times 5. What is that amount? $135. That's the amount of money that you're gaining in 5 years. Money gained is $135. What's the total amount you have in your account then? Or a number called the balance in your account.
$1,035?
Yeah, $1,035. You'd have to add the amount of money that you gained to your original amount. Okay? But this amount of money gained is called the interest amount. That's what you find first when you're using simple interest, this formula. Okay? Let's do number 6 together.
So the $135 is a simple interest?
That's the interest amount. That's how much you gain. Using this formula. Simple interest is the formula that we're using.
So it's 900.
900 times
No.
1.
I was
Oh,
talking about like to get the balance.
to get the balance?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to add the amount of money gained to the original amount to get the balance.
I think I did it right.
Okay? Sam? Say that again?
Can you just do $135
On the line, they're just asking for the interest amount. So it depends on what they're asking for. Okay? If they're asking for the balance, you have to write the balance. Okay? Can we move on to number 6?
Yep.
Let's
I know he's trying to fix this.
let's do number 6. Let's do number 6.
Do you always have to change?
Let's do number 6. Listen, this is a different situation. First, they give you a different original amount. The original amount is $1,348. That's how much you're starting with. So you put that money into an account, and your rate is different, 2.5%. What is that as a decimal? 0.025. Right. So you have to multiply the original amount times 0.025 times, and then they give you a time in months. It's 18 months. So you'd have to switch that to years. That's 1.5 years. Yeah, that's the amount, the number you have to use is 1.5. So put that into your calculator. What is that amount?
$50.55.
Yep, $50.55. That's how you find the simple interest. Then if you needed to, if you wanted to know how what your new balance is, then you'd add the two amounts. Yep. Does that make sense?
Also, the balance is your both of us.
The balance is when you add, yeah, the balance is how much you now have in your account. Right? But for balance, we're going to be talking about another formula. The other formula is called the compound interest formula, and that's the formula you're going to have to use more often. So now I want to switch to this formula. This formula is a little more complicated. What you're doing in the balance, or in this formula, is finding the balance right away. Is finding the new amount that you have in your account right away with this formula. So, it starts with the principal amount again. And then, you have to multiply that times 1 plus the rate that you're given. The reason the 1 is there is because it refers to 100% plus whatever rate you're gaining. Okay? Hey, sorry, you're not paying attention to this, are you? Okay. You guys, you know what? You can watch this video later. You don't have to be in here. Well then, pay attention. Don't distract us. Okay? Why don't you sit here? There you go. Put your chair down. Max, you could watch this later or you could watch it now. Okay, go. Get up. You may go. What? You've changed your mind? Okay. So let's say that you start with a principal of $1,500. Okay? Now you multiply that times 1 plus the rate that you're given. This one is the first one on the reteaching side. So if you flip this over, number 1 is the table at the bottom. I'm going to talk you through these, okay? So, starting with this amount, 1 plus 6% would be 1 plus what number as a decimal? Yep. 0.06. Okay? Now, wait, we have to do something with this number because with compound interest, sometimes the interest is given to you every twice a year, so every 6 months. That's called semi-annually. And sometimes it's even given to you quarterly. All right? So this is what this means. It says that it's calculated semi-annually for 2 years. So here's what you need to do. First, pay attention to this. Semi-annually for 2 years, you have to multiply the number of times that you calculate how often you get the money. So instead of 2 times for 2 years, you get it twice a year. So you have to multiply this by 2 and use the number 4 in your formula.
If it was 4, you do times 4.
Yeah, and if it was quarterly, you'd have to multiply the number of years times 4, because you'd actually get paid 4 times a year. Sam, why don't you move over here? Okay, you're obviously distracted by that. So come over here. It's just water. Okay. Now, you also have to, though, you don't get 6% every time you get paid. You're going to get half of that because you're getting it halfway through the year. So you have to take the rate and divide that by 2. Divide the rate by 2, and then find the balance.
Aren't you going to get the same answer then, though?
No, you won't really, because you're actually, the reason that you don't is that you will get a little bit more interest on the balance since you get paid the balance after 6 months. You get paid that balance after 6 months, and then when you get another 3%, you get that 3% of the amount that is a little bit more than 1,500. So it's a little bit of a difference. Okay?
Like by a cent.
By a cent. But over time, it adds up to a lot more. Right? And then 8 cents, and then 16 cents, and then 32 cents, and then 64 cents, and then you keep doubling on that. Okay? So, let's start with how much would you get in the first, let's see. Let's do this. Let's skip down to number 2 and this table, and let me help you find the balance for this one right away. So everybody put into your calculator. This is the answer to number 2. Everybody put into your calculator 1,500. And then the parentheses. And then what would be 0.06 divided by 2?
0.03.
0.03. So everybody put in the parentheses and then put 1 plus 0.03. Okay? And then close the parentheses and then push the exponent button. That's that little caret. And then put 4 because it's twice a year for 2 years.
And then equals?
And then equals. What do you get? You should get
168.8.263.215.
Yep, you should get $1,688.26. Okay?
Wait, what was it
again? What was it again?
You should get $1,688.26. Number 2 at the bottom.
That's where you put the right
At the
number.
bottom. First you put this one, the formula, and then you put what it equals. Okay? Go to the back side. Go to the back side. Start with 400 now. We're going to do this compounded annually, so that means we don't have to change the rate or the time. So in this case, we don't have to change the rate or the time because it's just going to be compounded once a year. So let's use the formula. The balance is equal to the principal times 1 plus the rate to the number of years. Number 1, the principal is 400. The rate is 7%. And the time is 3 years. So put that in.
Wait, what does N stand for?
N is for number of times that it's compounded.
Wait, we divide, so if it's just the time?
Well, it's the time, but sometimes it's compounded more than once a year. So N is just the number of times that this is calculated.
In this case, it's the years?
In this case, it's the years because it's just once a year.
Wait.
So put this in. What do you get? Caleb?
0.0172.
So round it up to 2 cents. $490.02. Okay? How about the next one? What's the principal?
8,000.
Times 1 plus, what's the rate? 5%. And annually, so we don't have to change it, for 9 years, to the 9th power. Max, why aren't you writing this down? You're doing this.
We're trying to answer you.
This is 8,000 times 1 plus 5% to the 9th power.
What are we doing?
We're finding the balance. Same thing that it says in your notes. When you use this formula, you find the balance amount in your account. Okay? What's the new balance? Adam? Oh, no, more than that. Higher than that. Higher. Dan?
$12,410.63.
Right. $12,410.63. Number 3. Now this one we have to calculate semi-annually. So remember, semi-annually, we have to multiply the number of times by 2 and divide the rate by 2. Okay?
Okay.
So, number 3 says semi-annually times 2, divide by 2. So what's the, Max, what's the principal for starting amount in number 3? 1,200 times 1 plus, what's the rate?
4%.
Right, 4%, and then divide it by 2, so it's 0.02. And then multiply the times, 2 years times 2. So again, we're doing 4. Okay? Any questions on what we're using? To divide the rate by 2 and multiply the number of years by 2. So what's the balance? It's
1,298 and then
$2.92.
For which one?
Okay?
For which one?
For the semi-annual, number 3.
What is it?
$1,298.90.
2 cents?
Yeah, 92.
Okay? Let's do one more with semi-annual. Max. That's enough. Follow along. At least write down the numbers that you need to put into your calculator, even if you don't have your calculator. Just copy this down. Let's do one more. 50,000 times 1 plus, and again we're going to use semi-annual interest. So it's 6% divided by 2 for how long? 6 years. And we have to multiply that by 2 because it's semi-annual interest again. So then we're going to take this to the 12th hour. So 50,000?
680,000.
No.
71,021.
Yeah, 71,288. More cents.
Oh, I didn't put a carrot.
Okay.
Okay, now I got it.
Okay. Here's what I want you to do for tomorrow. Just do the bottom line. Just do the bottom line in number 7 and 8. Just the balance after 4 years. Okay?
So technically we have to do all of it because we've got to figure out the balance from the other ones you've shown here.
No,
I'm confused.
no. You just have to do the bottom line. Because if you just put in 4 right away as your power, alright? No, you don't have to do quarterly. Okay? So do the bottom line in 7 and 8, the ending balance in 7 and 8. Okay?
Do we have to do, wait, do we have to do the prep reteaching side?